Jim and Terry Show, remembering things that are significant to us as parents. In this case, June is Father's Day.
Father's Day.
So let's talk about things that maybe even go back to, we'll start with something that you can launch into because I know it's near and dear to your heart. The image of God the Father.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So start with that and say, okay, how do we measure up, Jim?
Well, we can't measure up because he's beyond understanding, really. When you think, it's funny, I was thinking about that when I was coming here. The whole idea of God who dwells in unapproachable light sent his son Jesus, who took on flesh so that he could be approachable and, according to the scriptures, the exact image of God. So we can't see God through his glory, but we can see him through Jesus, his son. Anyways, so there you go. And Jesus very much called him not only Father, called him Daddy, Abba. And so, yeah, that's cool.
What do your grandkids call you, or what do your children call you?
Grandpa.
Grandkids call you Grandpa? Yep. So there's no endearing term, no slang term idiom?
No.
Nothing.
Grammy,
it's
Grandpa,
just
nothing like that, no. Just Grandpa.
Not Baba and Dudu and any words
I don't
like
know
that.
what they call me under their breath.
Well, that's another
How
story.
about you? Are you Babbly Boo or Bibbly Bee?
Baba Ganoush. No, I was known by my grandsons in the West as Grandpa Terrio. Because I am Terry from Ontario, so it's Grandpa Terrio.
My grandchildren out west say Grandpa? Is it Grandpa?
Do we have one? Yes.
They would be closer to their mother's dad.
Yeah. Well, that's because of proximity.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get together with them all in glory. We'll have a good party.
Okay.
No, I often think about it, to be closer.
Yeah, geography does put a damper. What about even
geography, broken marriages, all kinds of things could throw of wrenches into things. My boys, all four of them, are fathers, with many children, and it's wonderful. It's a blessing to me, but it's a blessing to them as well.
So it makes you a grandfather.
I'm a grandfather, and, I think I'll probably be fortunate enough to be around to be a great-grandfather.
Wow.
My sister's a great-great-great-grandmother, I think, so.
Wow. To do that kind of great stuff, you have to either married young, had children young, and had their children have children young as well.
Yeah, my nephew got married very young, and then his daughter got married very young.
Yeah, that's the only way to make it.
I think it's even possible that the daughter, well, I know it is possible, has their daughter had a child. Now that child, I don't know how old it is, but that makes my sister great-grandma.
Yeah, growing up, we used to think of great as being important or somehow better or bigger or something. That's why I use the word great. We didn't have the idea as kids that our great-grandparents were that's a relationship marker, not a word of importance.
Yeah. I don't even know if they think about that much. I mean, they know I'm there. I'm Grandpa. I told you I tirely just threw $40 at Noah, said, "Here you go, happy birthday, thanks, Grandpa," and I walked away. I was bagged. Oh, I was so tired.
Relationships bought and sold in the Sampson household.
Well, it was just like, oh, by the way, it's Noah's birthday. Okay, let me see how much money I got.
Didn't I have that marked on the calendar? What calendar? My life is in chaos. Yeah. All right, I'm going to shift back to, and we started this with the image of God as the Father. It's a paternalistic relationship. God is Father, not Mother, unless you're into the other side of spirituality, which says the feminine side is the part that is responsible for breeding, for reproduction, for all the good nurturing things. It doesn't come from Father, it comes from Mother.
Oh, I can understand that. I mean, even the Catholics have adopted that with Mary. She's what is she? The goddess of heaven or something they call her?
What's the word? It's in the Eastern Orthodox tradition. They have a special term for her.
Yeah, and that's them.
Yeah. Well, we could have talked about that on Mother's Day. Let's stick with Father and talk about character, because I think one of the things, just as the word great doesn't mean importance, what does matter is relationships and things that our children, and in this case, we're both grandparents, will remember us for. And that's usually something that has to do with who we are as a person, what qualities we exude or demonstrate. So,
Well, you being a teacher, you just had that episode with your daughter's child, your grandchild.
Yes.
You just showed me the picture that
yeah,
that they drew you.
pizza.
Made me hungry again. But you know, the child. Well, you say
Yeah, well, my grandson was having a teachable moment with his mother, my daughter, and he was curious as to why everything was a lesson. Like, they'd just be out on a walk and stop and look at this and, oh, you know, look at that. Isn't that interesting? And just ask some questions about it. Those teachable moments is part of what I do and part of what I did with my older kids. And now she is passing on that tradition of finding teachable moments in life wherever, whenever they happen. And I guess COVID made that really important because parents were at home. Parents were often the teachers.
I think a lot of relationships ended over it.
I'm thinking you're right. It was overstressed households.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, not only that, at the end of it all, the guy or girl who's been commuting for the last 15 years said, I ain't going back. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'd rather live in a ditch. I'm not doing it.
Right.
So that's what happens when something like that happens. Nobody's fault. But they go, I can't do it anymore. I can't spend 2 hours a day driving to work and 2 hours driving home.
All right, I'm not sure how that one's going to go into where I wanted to go with fathers
Well,
and
you know me.
characters. You know, I started off with God the Father and talking about the great characteristics and what is it that we are passing on to our kids. Maybe the question should be, what do you think the most significant attribute that you possess that you think your kids would acknowledge you demonstrated as they grew up?
Well, I would hope that my legacy would be that I'm not here, I'm in heaven. That's my legacy.
So that's a teaching. They would say, well, my dad believed in heaven.
Yeah. My dad believed in God and believed in walking with God.
So your dad, you being the person of faith.
Yeah.
That's what the one thing they would remember? Okay.
Yeah, that's about probably it. I'm sure my kids would have remembered when this lazy old man who's in the basement once worked his butt off with 2 jobs and everything else. I know.
Okay, well, let's talk about that character trait. The one that said, I don't want my family to do without, I will do whatever it takes. That kind of dad.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I was to the best of my ability.
Yes.
And I did provide, and you know, we went on vacations if we could, usually just a weekend. That would be it because I worked. And then one of my jobs was in the middle of the night, so I had to get poor Lois or somebody to do that job. And it was hell, and they'll tell you so. So when it came to eventually retiring, I'd never want to go back. I still get pits in my stomach thinking of all the
Oh, you get knots, just anxiety
thinking
over
about it.
work.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and now I do miss the ability or the strength or the drive to want to build a deck or build a garage or build a shed or something like
So
that,
is
which
that
I did all that stuff.
You did.
Not a
So
garage. not a
would your
garage.
kids say that that's a quality that they carry forward? That we got this from Dad. You know, Dad built that deck on the house.
Well,
Remember that?
Anything I built's gone, except the basement. I mean, I
But
did build the
they
basement.
experienced it when you did it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was all the most happiest moments in the world.
Well, there are a few hammers on the thumbs and
Well, I mean,
few
when
curses.
I built the basement, I put up in the ceiling, mostly by myself, 99% by myself. I put everything up myself, 12 by 4 foot sheets of drywall. So you built a cross, you hooked it up in there. And then the one time I had the kids hold the cross, and they thought I said let go, and down went the sheet. I lost it, and their mother came down and quietly just ushered them out of my way as I beat that drywall to dust.
Oh,
I
my.
was so upset. But I did all that stuff myself. And,
So creating stuff, working with wood or
yeah.
working with drywall, building stuff.
Yeah.
So Bob the Builder is a quality of fatherhood that...
I used to love watching This Old House and stuff like that Saturday mornings. I used to just love it, you know, and think about the tools and think of building. And I even drew plans on the first little house I had in Pefferlaw where I was going to just turn that thing into a 2-story beauty, and drew out all the drawings and everything else. I was really quite getting into it.
Are there things that we
What about you? I mean, you've built
demonstrated?
all kinds of stuff. Why
Yeah.
Why is it all me? I mean,
Well, no, I'm just asking. I'm prompting you so that you can go down the road of character that our fathers. Starting with my first question about God and what you think of God, you think of the creative process, you think of consistency, you think of won't letting your children, won't disappoint them, won't let them down.
Yeah.
Those are things that we do as parents, which we're celebrating this weekend as Father's Day. All right, so I'm looking for character traits that would exemplify things. And I think we know the usual stuff that, determination, stick-to-itiveness. We hope for those kinds of consistencies in our parenting. But sometimes we don't make it. Sometimes we fall on our faces, and it is a tough one to admit at this stage in life that we weren't the best that we could have been at any given time. And there are things that come to your mind, things that come to my mind, where we created either havoc or chaos or anger or withdrawal, all kinds of reactions to what we said, the way we acted. All these things, it's a mixed bag being a parent. We're not going to be, and this is why I sort of look at God as saying the unobtainable goal. There's no way we're going to make it. So why do we keep on?
That's why we need Christ.
Okay, I'm going to say that
that's my religion.
That's
my religion.
unobtainable as well, because he was perfection as well. But let's go to the humanity of it all. Oh, the humanity of being a parent.
Well, no, there's humanity and there's those failures. You're right. I mean, the quickest one I think of is a marriage failing.
Yes.
I mean,
There's no source of pride in that.
I don't put all the blame on my partner.
No.
It's just what it is, and it's sad, and I'm so glad that it doesn't seem to have affected my children and their desires to build families. So I'm really glad about that, but that was a failure that I mark as my own as well. And not going to go to the grave saying it was everybody else's fault. I take half the blame. So
Well, we are human beings who fail.
Yeah.
And the mark of a whole family is to rise above and support people who are failing, whether it's our kids, we nurture them, we console them when they've scraped their knees. Even as parents, we need to be consoled as well when we drop the ball, when we do the thing that we shouldn't have done. What is that St. Paul who said? Why
do I do the things I don't want to do, and why don't I do the things I know I should? Yeah, I find actual comfort in that.
I do
he was
too.
a pretty holy guy.
I do too. Looking at Father's Day from the humanity of it all, the Jim and Terry Show. Bye bye.
Happy Father's Day, Terry.
Happy Father's Day to you, my friend. Bye bye.